Hi, kid. Welcome to KidTime StoryTime with your storyteller and, of course, the ever-cranky Maleficent. Although I have to say, storyteller, yes, Maleficent, that maybe this time, at last, you found a book to my liking. Hello, Mr. Grumpy. Let's get started. Wow, I've never seen Maleficent so interested in a book. There's Mr. Grumpy. Well, you know, she is kind of grumpy, so it makes sense. Okay, here we go, kid. It was a lovely summer evening. Mr. Grumpy was at home, Crosspatch Cottage. He sat down in an armchair and picked up a book. And then, do you know what he did? I don't know. Let's find out. He tore all the pages out of it! Every one! Oh no! Mr. Grumpy can't stand books. He has a shocking bad temper. In fact, he's quite the most bad-tempered person you can imagine. Grumpy by name and even more grumpy by nature. I like him already. Well, of course you do, Maleficent, but I cannot approve of this behavior. Book page tearing? An abomination. Ugh, barely stand to go on. The following morning, he was out in his garden, pulling up flowers. Pulling up flowers? He couldn't stand pretty flowers growing in his garden, when out of the corner of his eye, he saw a figure. It was Mr. Happy. Oh, now that's a guy more my speed. Mr. Happy. Good morning, said Mr. Happy. Good, said Mr. Grumpy. What's good about it? But, said Mr. Happy, but nothing. Get out of my garden. I beg your pardon? You heard me. Go away. I say, you are a bad-tempered fella. And, Mr. Happy went on, bad-tempered fellas need to change their ways. Let's see if this intervention works. Rubbish! Retorted Mr. Grumpy and went into his cottage, deliberately stepping on Mr. Happy's foot as he passed him. Ouch! Bang! Went the door of Crosspatch Cottage as Mr. Grumpy slammed it behind him. Oh, boy. You don't want to cross paths with this guy. I mean, this guy, yes, not that other guy. Mr. Happy stood there, looking not quite so happy as he normally does. His foot hurt. He thought, and thought, and thought some more. Then he had an idea. He smiled and went to see Mr. Tickle. I wonder where this is gonna go. Mr. Happy told Mr. Tickle of his idea of how to get Mr. Grumpy to change his ways. And Mr. Tickle, that fellow with the extra long, extraordinary arms, grinned the sort of grin that goes from ear to ear. That is, if you have ears, which technically he doesn't. Oh, he grinned, rubbing the hands at the end of those extraordinarily long arms of his together. That sounds like fun. That afternoon, Mr. Grumpy went to town, shopping. He walked into Mr. Meat's shop. Mr. Meat was a butcher. Obviously, with that kind of a name, that's what you're born to be. Get me some sausages, snapped Mr. Grumpy, and be quick about it. Poor Mr. Meat, who was frightened of Mr. Grumpy, did as he was told. I mean, you can't blame him, right? This guy goes around stomping on people's feet. But as he was doing as he was told, something appeared through his shop doorway. Do you know what it was? I do. It was an extraordinarily long arm belonging to... Well, you can guess who it belonged to, can't you? That extraordinary long arm of Mr. Tickle's came in through the door and across the shop and up to Mr. Grumpy and tickled him. Oh! Squeaked Mr. Grumpy in alarm, dropping his sausages and looking around to see what had happened. But he couldn't see anything. He could not. Grunted Mr. Grumpy and picked up his sausages and went next door to the bakery. Crash! Went the door of the shop. Give me a cake! Snapped Mr. Grumpy, and hurry up! Poor Mrs. Fairy, who sold cakes at the bakery, was frightened of Mr. Grumpy and did as she was told. But As she was doing what she was told, guess what happened? "Oh!" squeaked Mr. Grumpy, dropping his cake and his sausages. He could not understand what was happening. But you and I know. And the same thing happened at Mr. Daly's, the newspaper stand, and at Mrs. Humbug's, the candy store, and at Mr. Bottle's dairy, and at Mr. Packett's, the grocer. This went on all afternoon, and all afternoon Mr. Grumpy kept being tickled, and dropping his shopping bags, and picking them up, and being tickled, and dropping his shopping bags, and picking them up, and being tickled, and dropping his shopping bags. And, well, you know, you get it. He just couldn't understand what was happening, though. On his way home to Crosspatch Cottage, he met Mr. Happy again, our friend. "Hello!" grinned Mr. Happy. "Having a nice day?" "Get out of my way!" snapped Mr. Grumpy, "before I kick you!" But almost before the words had passed his lips, that extraordinarily long arm of Mr. Tickle's had appeared from behind a tree and tickled him yet again. He jumped in the air and dropped all his shopping bags yet again, and fell over. Mr. Happy looked down at Mr. Grumpy lying amid a jumble of sausages and cake and newspapers and candy and milk and cornflakes. "I think," he laughed, "that if you were to change your ways and be not quite so bad-tempered quite so often, this sort of thing might not happen to you quite so often." Hint, hint. "Huh," said Mr. Grumpy. He picked up all his shopping bags, yet again, and went home to Crosspatch Cottage. But on his way, he did think about what Mr. Happy had said, because he very definitely did not like what had happened to him that afternoon. Mr. Happy and Mr. Tickle laughed and shook hands. We did it. And so after that, he did try to be not quite so bad-tempered quite so often. Oh, okay. And the more he tried, the less he found he was tickled. And so he tried more and more, and these days, he's a changed person. How about that? Why, only the other evening he picked up a book. And you know what? Oh my gosh, please don't tell me he tore it out. Well, he only tore out one page. I guess it's a little victory, right? Oh, the fine print says this book was published in 1978. That was definitely before you were born, I'm thinking. And that year was the year that my little brother was born. How about that? All right, that was a story of Mr. Grumpy. Oh, Maleficent! I liked him the way he was before. Mr. Grumpy, you don't need to change. I like you as you are. Well, that just goes to show you, kid. There's somebody out there for everybody. See you next time on KidTime StoryTime, and subscribe. Or not. Whatever.